Hacking brains through stories. In the previous unit, we learned how to make ourselves eloquent by focusing on the technicalities of tone and delivery. However, those are not enough. You cannot be a memorable, interesting, and persuasive speaker without engaging the listeners through the content of your talk. And there is no better way to engage than with a story. Not sure? Hear the story. In 1748, the British politician and aristocrat John Montagu, the fourth Earl of Sandwich, used a lot of his free time for playing cards. One of the problems he had was that he greatly enjoyed eating a snack while still keeping one hand free for the cards. So, he came up with the idea to eat beef between slices of toast, which would allow him to finally eat and play cards at the same time. Eating his newly invented sandwich, the name for two slices of bread with meat in between, became one of the most popular meal inventions in the Western world. Now, you're very likely to never forget the story of who invented the sandwich. Or at least, you're much less likely to forget it than if it had been presented in bullet points or another purely information-based form. Note, I'm talking about engaging listeners with facts through stories and making them interesting. Don't mistake it to mean distorting information to your advantage. So, in this unit, you will learn: why are stories so attractive? How do stories engage our brain? What makes a story effective? How to craft your stories. 3 steps to help weave facts with business storytelling with examples. What specific techniques to follow and words to use. Some last points to remember. Why are stories so attractive? Because people cannot relate to or retain what you say for long if it is only decoded as general information. It has to resonate. It has to be felt. It is estimated that personal stories and gossip make up 65% of our conversations. No wonder the importance of stories is stated everywhere. How do stories engage our brain? If we listen to a PowerPoint presentation with boring bullet points, certain parts of the brain get activated. Scientists call these Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Overall, it hits our language processing parts of the brain, where we decode words into meaning. And that's it. Nothing else happens. When we are being told a story, though, things change dramatically, according to researchers in Spain. Not only are the language processing parts of our brain activated, but any other area in our brain that we would use when experiencing the events of the story are activated too. If someone tells us about how delicious certain foods were, our sensory cortex lights up. Similarly, hearing words like perfume or coffee activates the olfactory cortex. If it's about motion, our motor cortex gets active. Metaphors like, the singer had a velvet voice, and he had leathery hands roused the sensory cortex. Then, the brains of participants were scanned as they read sentences like, John grasped the object and Pablo kicked the ball. The scans revealed activity in the motor cortex, which coordinates the body's movements. Hearing a story of pain, joy, or disgust activates a part called the insula, which helps us relate and feel. We think in terms of cause and effect based on our previous experiences. In a great experiment, John Bargh at Yale found the following. Volunteers would meet one of the experimenters, believing that they would be starting the experiment shortly. In reality, the experiment began when the experimenter, seemingly struggling with an armful of folders, asked the volunteer to briefly hold their coffee. As the key experimental manipulation, the coffee was either hot or iced. Subjects then read a description of some individual, and those who had held the warmer cup tended to rate the individual as having a warmer personality, with no change in ratings of other attributes. What makes a story effective? For a story to be effective, it must fulfill 2 criteria. First, it must capture and hold our attention. Second, it must transport us into the character's world. Any Hollywood writer will tell you that attention is a scarce resource. Movies, TV shows, and books always include hooks that make you turn the page, stay on the channel through the commercial, or keep you in a theater seat. Scientists liken attention to a spotlight. We are only able to shine it on a narrow area. If that area seems less interesting than some other area, our attention wanders. In fact, using one's attentional spotlight is metabolically costly, so we use it sparingly. This is why you can drive on the freeway and talk on the phone or listen to music at the same time. Your attentional spotlight is dim, so you can absorb multiple informational streams. You can do this until the car in front of you jams on its brakes and your attentional spotlight illuminates fully to help you avoid an accident. In the brain, maintaining attention produces signs of arousal. The heart and breathing speed up, stress hormones are released, and our focus is high. Once a story has sustained our attention long enough, we may begin to emotionally resonate with the story's characters. Narratologists call this transportation, and you experience this when your palms sweat as James Bond trades blows with a villain on top of a speeding train. Transportation is an amazing neural feat. We watch a flickering image that we know is fictional, but evolutionarily old parts of our brains simulate the emotions we intuit James Bond must be feeling. And we begin to feel those emotions too. How to craft your stories. Immerse your audience in the story. Your story should turn the presentation into a mental movie and make the audience see, hear, feel, and smell the different stimuli in your story world. Unlike novels, though, presentations must make use of short but effective descriptions. Tell a personal story. Few things are as captivating as a personal story, especially those of triumph over extreme adversity. In his insightful book, The 7 Basic Plots, author Christopher Booker identifies 7 basic story plots that have universal appeal. These include the story of the hero defeating a monster, the rags to riches tale, the quest for a treasure, and the voyage of a hero who comes back a changed person, among others.